Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And welcome back to the channel that takes power gaming to the next level. We're not going to talk about power gaming today, and we're not going to talk about spells today, but we are going to talk about this article that I came upon called Chance and Circumstance, and it's about the journey. It's the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's about a journey through the past. And they're looking at 1973 of July. It's when the first draft of Dungeons and Dragons was written by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. Here's a copy of the front page right there on the front of this article. And there is some very interesting publicly available stuff in this, and I'm going to reveal where you can get all that. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right, so the name of this is Unveiling the Past, a journey through the July 1973 draft and D&D's foundational saga. The article really isn't about that. It's about the author. So the author of this, he's right down here by Michael Kalea, and it is about how he found all of these amazing documents that essentially archive and describe all of the stuff that happened between Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and how the game was created and their thought process that went between the two, and how TSR became a company, and then it also goes into a lot of the lawsuits. So Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'll just read the very beginning. Dungeons and Dragons was formed through collaboration and feuding, and there was a court feud. The latter culminated in a lawsuit filed by co-creator Dave Arneson against Gary Gygax and TSR, respectively, the other co-creator and the original publisher of Dungeons & Dragons. Unfortunately, understanding the unique output of collaboration that created Dungeons & Dragons requires looking at some of the feuds that shaped it. And that is true, because there were lawsuits that were essentially filed, I think, from like 1977 to 1980 and a few other ones. So they've got some quotes in here from both Dave Arneson and from Gary Gygax. You know, these are quotes that they couldn't actually talk about certain things because this was a sealed case for a long time. It's not sealed anymore. It is a public case now. So you can see, here's Dave Arneson saying, many of your questions could be answered, but I am bound legally to not do so, and unfortunately I cannot explain this in a way that will satisfy your readership. It is all covered in court documents that are presently sealed. They're no longer sealed. Any comments that I can make are in violation of those statements. And Gary Gygax, for my part, I am satisfied with whatever credits others care to assign to me, and I believe my work speaks amply for itself. So they're talking in interviews basically about the history of the game and how it was created. So this guy is this Michael Kalea. He is a researcher of sorts, I guess, and he wanted to research the historical significance of Dungeons and Dragons and how it was created and the mind processes between Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, you know, and this melding of ideas from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, also known as Milwaukee. And so this guy has done a lot of research. He was on The Secrets of Blackmore, earning a film credit. If you've never seen that, really important to see that. And then Slaying the Dragon with Random House Agreement signed by Gary Gygax. So that was another really good book. These are all about kind of the history of the Blackmore campaign, which was Dave Arneson's campaign, and how he had taken some chainmail rules and turned them into Dungeons and Dragons. And then Gary Gygax heard about the Blackmore campaign and decided to make some rules for it, and they collaborated together on creating the first version of Dungeons and Dragons. So he goes through how he found things and how he discovered things. So my dedication to the quest paid off when the records Dave Arneson mentioned, and that's these records right here, court documents. My dedication to the quest paid off when the records Dave Arneson mentioned were found. Fortunately, the case was deemed important. Otherwise, like so many other documents, it would have been too late and the documents destroyed. Government retention policies can be a heartbreaker for a researcher. So a lot of times government will not keep documents past a certain time. It's expensive to store these properly, and a lot of times they just get thrown out. But this case was deemed to be important enough, and this case involves accumulation of all of the material about the first original Dungeons and Dragons, and also some things about the first original Player's Handbook and the original Monster Manual. So it's pretty cool stuff. So what he's saying here is that the government kept these. It was deemed important enough. So while I had anticipated that if located, the documents would still be under court seal, that would require Herculean efforts or acts to unseal. I was surprised to find that this was not the case. The entire court case was in the public record. The excellent staff at the National Archives in Chicago. So the United States has several different National Archives offices all over the country that keep this sort of thing. And so there was one that was in Chicago, and my guess is they have the territory to keep records for both Milwaukee and Minneapolis. So they have these. It was a copy of the record at 80 cents per page, though there were over 900 pages. After requesting a portion of the papers, I was soon hooked. This was the trove Arneson promised, a window in the past. In the end, I requested copies of the whole record. So there were letters from lawyers, letters from Gary Gygax, interrogatories, depositions, and the entirety of the July 1973 draft of Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons actually is older than 50 years. It's 51 years this July. A lot of people don't know that. 51 years this July because the draft that was created and circulated between Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson was in July of 73. Now, there's a video that's out right now from Wizards of the Coast, and they kind of speculate about when Dungeons and Dragons started, because this draft was being funneled back and forth between them that summer, and then they were able to actually have copies of the brown box the December-ish, January-ish, so December of 73, January of 74. Actually, I believe I found some stuff that Gary said he sold his first version of it, or first copy of it, in December, in January of 1974. So, it is, but this is the date right here, July 1973. They hadn't sold one yet, but this is when it was created. So to commemorate the 50th anniversary, I decided to share something extraordinary with fellow enthusiasts and scholars alike, a rare find that shines a light on the game's early days and the legal battles that shaped its future. So on February 12th, that was just a couple of weeks ago, I shared on the AD&D discussion forum, this is a link, that I had a copy, and sharing this discovery brings a mix of emotions, the thrill of revealing a hidden gem and relinquishing a closely guarded secret that once felt like my precious treasure. So the centerpiece of this revelation is a copy of the 1973 D&D draft, a document that provides an unparalleled glimpse into the game's development. In the spirit of sharing and recognizing the importance of this historical document, I've decided to guide others on how they might access this piece of D&D history. Okay. So the treasure is housed in the National Archives in Chicago and can be viewed on their website. And guess what? Here it is right here. Bingo. There it is. And this is the first page. And the first page here is an order for a pretrial conference between Dave L. Arneson and Gary Gygax at TSR Hobbies, Inc. And this thing is huge. It is 855 pages long. I have not had a chance to go through all of this. Somewhere in here is this copy of the 1973 D&D draft. It's in here somewhere. I've kind of gone through it already. There's a bunch of letters and correspondence between Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax from 73, 74, 75, 76. There's a lot of court documents in here. There are copies of or pages from the original Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual. I think they're exhibits, and they're wanting to go in the direction of that Dave Arneson did create a lot of this stuff for those things and deserves credit. And that's, I think, the crux of the lawsuit that was happening between them, is Dave Arneson was not getting full credit for what he created. So it is there. If you click on this link right here, you will come to this page right here. Okay? Click on that link and you'll go there. You can also visit the archive and review it in person. So that's the original documents. Now, the draft is a copy that's in this. So I'm sure that the archives have a copy of it. But it's a copy. I think this was 1979. Click to interact. Will be held on September 18th, 1980. A pretrial conference. And there's a bunch of documents in here from like 1979. So I believe that this was 1979 to 1980. And that would fit with the Player's Handbook of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, the Monster Manual, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. So, but you can go there. Here's the address. The research room at the National Archives at Chicago is open by appointment only. So they've got the number there. You can also write or email a request. There's their government email. And there's no longer a fee. Again, you don't need to do anything. You just need to go onto the website and pull it down, because it's open. This is a public.gov website right here, and there it is. There it is. The whole thing, all 855 pages are there. And do be nice to the staff. Yes, I agree with that. So, to be clear, while these court records are public records, some documents contained within the records are still protected under copyright. So, that means that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro currently owns the copyright. So, I'm not going to go through those pages, because there are stuff in there like pages that come out of the early Dragon magazine, pages that come out that are advertising Dungeons & Dragons from different other publications that TSR did, like some war games and things like that. Some magazines that, like science fiction magazines that advertise Dungeons & Dragons. All that stuff's in there. I'm not going to show those because some of that stuff is under copyright. So, and he is correct. So also public records do not equate to public domain. The distribution of copywritten materials in this court case is not condoned. It is your responsibility to ensure that you adhere to the copyright. So you can get it, just don't share it. And so he said, stay tuned, where I'll delve into the differences highlighted in the 1973 draft, uncover aspects of gameplay that have evolved, and share insights. And he's got this postscript here. So when I revealed the court's records location, I was unaware of an upcoming book, and that's this book right here. This book right here that's coming out. This is on pre-order right now. It's coming out for the 50th anniversary. And it also has a copy of the draft version of the 1973 rules in it. So he was not aware of the book. And he's got a link to the YouTube page that Jason Tondro talks about the book, and he's got a place where you can pre-order it on Amazon. So he didn't know about that, but this is a great free thing. You can go on here, and you could look through all of this, and you can zoom in, and it's very nicely digitized. Very nicely digitized. You can zoom in and look at it, and everything's pretty clear. And so all right, well, that is what I have for everybody today. I hope everybody enjoyed, and I will catch everybody later.